Hello, right, okay, once again I'm not doing an Alpha Centauri video because I've fiddled around and I still can't do it, so I don't know, I will do it eventually I expect, but not at the moment. Okay, today's video is going to be about the cosmological argument for the existence of God, also known as the first cause argument. It's actually a family of arguments. One of them is known as the cosmological argument. It can also be called the first cause argument, and it's also known as the Qalaam argument, which is the Arabic word for pen, the idea being that God is the writer or the author of the universe. It goes as follows. Every event has a cause. The universe is a series of events. Therefore, the first event in the universe must have had a cause, and that cause was God. Okay, now, I've got various objections to this, and they're quite common objections. There's not particularly anything unusual about my objections. They're just the same as other people's, really. First of all, why does that cause have to be God? I mean, it might be seen as an argument for an initial event of some kind that does not form part of the physical universe, but there's no reason to suppose that that initial event is godlike. That event could be entirely impersonal, for example. This is not a proof for the Judeo-Christian kind of God. This is a proof maybe for a sort of deist God, but certainly not for the kind of God that gets involved in people's lives. It's if it worked, it will be a sufficient reason to suppose that there was perhaps something that caused it. It might not even be conscious. So that doesn't really work. So there's another point, which is a point made by Bertrand Russell, which is, if there is a first cause, why can't it be that that cause is the universe itself? In other words, why does there have to be something outside the universe that causes it? We're already supposing that there's something that can be a first cause. Why introduce an extra entity that would be the cause of the universe? Why can't the universe itself be the first cause? It can cause itself. Okay. Now, there's another problem, which is probably not a particularly popular problem nowadays, but it is something that I happen to believe in. How do we know that time even has a start? Maybe it just goes back forever. Maybe everything has always existed. Maybe the universe has always been here. We don't know that. We don't know, we happen to have the Big Bang Theory, which is of course motivated by a Christian, Lemaitre, who couldn't believe that there wasn't a beginning to the universe. That's what people generally accept nowadays, so we don't actually know that to be the case, and there have been other theories such as the steady state theory, which says that space is constantly expanding and that matter appears spontaneously, which leads me on to the next thing. We may have observed that everything has a cause, but there may be uncaused events. We don't know that there aren't uncaused events. We just know that everything, or we think we know, that everything we have observed has a cause. Also, it could be argued, because of quantum physics, that not everything does have a cause. Sometimes elementary particles blink out of existence in one place and appear in another, and there's no particular reason for them being there, and no reason why they shouldn't have appeared. There is no cause for those particles appearing. Okay, right. Now, there's another problem, which is this. If there was a first cause, as far as God's concerned, does that not mean that God is subject to time? Surely, if we believe in God, we believe that God is responsible for everything, or rather has created everything, which means that God has created time. So it doesn't make sense to describe God as a creator. It makes more sense to describe God as an author, because God writes time. He writes the universe. He doesn't, and notice I say he here, so I'm sort of assuming certain attributes of God, which don't follow from that argument either. Now, the E document in Genesis appears to describe a creation of the universe. That would be a literal interpretation of it, but there are other ways of looking at it. For example, it says, it appears to describe a creation, but it actually says in some translations, say, when God began creating the heavens and the earth was formless and empty and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't actually say necessarily that he created it from nothing. I mean, creation ex nihilo is fine, but it isn't actually necessarily implied by the Bible. So basically, the first cause argument doesn't work because there needn't be a first cause, because that first cause needn't be God, and because the kind of God that is argued for there is nothing. There is no reason why that particular kind of God, or first cause, should be anything like the personal God that is recognised by the Judeo-Christian and Islamic traditions.